Welcome to the Growing Food and Feeding People podcast. Whether you're a backyard gardener, a market gardener, or a small scale farmer just starting out or a seasoned grower, this show is for you. Join us as we share tips and tricks, tactics and hacks to growing food for yourself, your family, and your community, as well as sharing stories here from the field and other growers and farmers making a difference in their local food webs. My name is Cody, and I will be your host, so let's get growing. All right. Welcome to Ep.2, Season 1 of the Growing Food and Feeding People podcast. The show is produced by Simple Ain't Easy Media. This episode is sponsored by Simplistic Farms, bringing fresh local produce to West Michigan, one family at a time. Now, let me ask you a question. Why shouldn't you tell a secret in the garden? Because potatoes have eyes and corn has ears, silly. All right. We'll limit myself to one of those per show. But we thought we'd jump right into episode 2 with who is Simplistic Farms. And we thought it'd be a great chance for you to get to know us a little bit better, kind of how we got here and where we're going. So hopefully you'll choose to join us on the journey moving forward. But before we get into that, we're going to jump into the segment we call This Week on the Farm. This will be a segment we have in every show, and it's just going to be kind of an update of what's going on right here at Simplistic Farms, what we've been up to, what we're working on, what we're growing. But this has been a busy week. Well, the last few have. We've been doing a lot of harvest, finishing up our summer crops, so a lot of late summer harvest there weekly. Trying to harvest the last of our melons, get the melon tunnel cleaned up, getting our summer squash beds cleaned up. We've pretty much harvested all the summer squash off of those. Just the tomatoes are winding down. We're still harvesting a few every week, but those are winding down. It won't be much longer on those. Still, we harvest carrots and radishes and broccoli, onions and peppers. We are digging potatoes. That's a bit of a surprise. We got hit really hard with the potato beetle this year, and I thought it wiped out the potato plants, but I did some digging, and sure enough, there's potatoes in there. So we've been digging potatoes this week and last, and producing some salad mix. Our winter squash is starting to come on now, so that'll be nice. And we are still planting for late fall. So I'm putting in some more lettuce, spinach, kale, and radishes. I am still planting for late fall. We'll even call it early winter harvest of lettuce and spinach and kale and radishes, and even some carrots. I'll probably cover the carrots in poly, but I'm going to get some more of those going. I really like pulling carrots in December. So we've been busy with that. Our chickens now are finally turning up the production, and just about all of them are laying now. So we are getting plenty. And we are still canning. I think we're just going to start calling my wife Jeannie the canning queen, because she has totally outdone herself this year. She has canned peaches and dilly beans, green beans, dill pickles, sweet pickles. Oh, pickled summer squash, which was pretty interesting. Pickled beets, canned tomatoes, salsa. She made the best strawberry and blueberry jams, jellies, pickled peppers. We're doing a lot of dehydrated peppers for our hot pepper blends. And now on to the apples. So we're making a lot of homemade applesauce and probably having some apple pie, and I cannot wait. And I'm pretty sure we're not going to stop with the apples. We've still got a lot of preserving to do, probably for the next month, month and a half. I know we plan on dehydrating and freezing a lot of the stuff we still have out in the garden. So if you haven't picked up the skill of preserving your food via canning or dehydrating or freezing, you should definitely look into it, and I'm sure we'll be putting out some content on that in the future, because there really is nothing better. One of my favorite things to do every day is actually every morning. Little inside knowledge here, maybe a little TMI, but every morning I love to start my day with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich made with the fresh strawberry jam that my wife cans. So you can't buy it at the store. It doesn't get any better than that. So if you're not canning and preserving yet, you should definitely look into it a little bit. But anyway, so yep, she's going to be known as the Canyon Queen, I'm sure, and maybe we can even get her to give us some tips. So it has been an absolutely crazy busy week here on the homestead. I think it is probably time to jump right into today's topic. Who is Simplistic Farms? Now, if you ask Google, it'll tell you we're a family run, small scale commercial produce farm. And although that's true, it's really only a tagline on the cover of our book and doesn't even come close to telling the story. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about who we are and how we got here so you guys can have the opportunity to get to know us a little bit better and see where our hearts lie and what propels us to move forward and keep us going. So, if this is our first time meeting, my name is Cody and I run Simplistic Farms here in West Michigan. I am a husband and a father and a farmer, a businessman, an entrepreneur. I have been married to my beautiful wife now we just celebrated 17 years married. Actually hit the milestone of 20 years together, so I could not be more proud of that. I've been fortunate enough to be a dad to four pretty crazy kids. We still got two sassy teenage girls living at home with us, um, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. We live on about 2.5 acre homestead, and we operate the market garden on roughly a quarter acre, and we've got 30-inch by 50-foot beds in production every year, along with six 30-inch by 20-foot beds, and a couple smaller straggler beds around the farm. We grow a wide variety of vegetables because we grow primarily for a CSA, or regular weekly customers that want a variety, and it gives us the opportunity to learn how to grow more food. So we are just finishing up our third season running the market garden, and it's pretty much been a full-time job for myself, and really way more than one guy can handle. So we are always busy, always something to do around here, and I welcome any help the kids want to throw my way. We will usually raise about 50 meat birds. This year we didn't have to because the freezer was still full from last year. Um, we'll usually raise about 50 meat birds in the spring, and we've got 15 laying hens and one rooster that was supposed to be a hen when we bought him as chicks, but y'all know how that goes. Like I said earlier, the chickens are pretty much up to full production on eggs, so they are giving us plenty and a few dozen a week to share. So that's going well. We've got two 19-month-old Angus Holstein cross cattle, one heifer and one steer. The steer is just about ready for the butcher, and the heifer is just about ready to be bred. So we're tossing up whether or not we want to keep them or if we want to ship them down the road to lighten our load a little bit here. We've got a couple dogs, Maisie and Champ. They usually keep us on our toes, but keep a good eye on the place. Now, like I said, we're located in West Michigan, about 30 minutes north of Grand Rapids. We were fortunate enough to build our homestead here on, like I said, 2.5 acres that sit on the back side of a 150-acre family farm. So it's been a great spot to raise our kids. It's where we grew up. Both my wife and I are from the same hometown. Ironically enough, didn't know one another when we were growing up, but I did go to school with her brother. So now growing up, like I say, I pretty much ran around right here on the back side of the farm that I built on. So it has been a true pleasure to watch my kids grow up here as well. And my wife actually grew up on her family farm about 3 miles down the road. So we've been here a while and real happy with where we're at. Now I say we live on the back side of about 150-acre farm that's been in our family for well over 100 years now. And we actually lease that to another farmer who does the hay and corn on the fields for his livestock, and that works out real well. It still leaves us plenty of room for expansion if needed down the road. One of my favorite things to do this time of year, and it's been a true blessing to have the land to do it on, is I love filling our freezer with wild game. It runs through our back 40 all year long. Pretty passionate about that as well. That would probably go to the top of my list when it comes to hobbies. So fall is actually one of my very favorite times of year. Harvests are abundant if we put in the effort. That is kind of our location and size of the market garden, kind of where we came from. And if I stopped the story right there, you'd probably think that farming is just a logical fit. We've been doing it forever. But that would not be reality. It has been a journey to get to farming. And actually, it was like a fork in the road that brought me here. Finishing up our third season market garden farming. And prior to that, I was in sales and marketing for several different industries for about 15 years prior to taking the plunge into farming. And it was really a fork in the road that brought me there. I say after being in the real estate and banking industry for quite a few years, I was really feeling burnt out. I really didn't enjoy what I was doing. I always enjoyed helping people, but I didn't enjoy the work. It was quite soul sucking and just didn't put a smile on my face when I woke up every morning. So, I got to a point where I had to make a change. And, we've always done stuff here out at our place. We've raised animals. We've had horses for years. We raised miniature horses for years, riding horses. Raised some pigs, had chickens before. We've raised goats, but we never really got into or even thought of farming um, as a way to make a living or a way to make money or a way to provide for our family or our community. So it was at that point, somewhere around 40, 41 years old, and I needed to make a change. So I got to looking, and through a ton of research, online, offline, I found market gardening, which was a style of farming I'd never really been introduced to before, and was kind of like, where have you been all my life? So it was a really good fit. It was something that really interested me for a lot of reasons. A, yes, the fact that it can be profitable and you can grow a lot of food on a small amount of land. But B, and probably more importantly in the long run, is that I was going to be able to grow a ton of healthy, fresh, organic, chemical free food for my family, for my friends, and ultimately for my community. So once I realized that was the direction I wanted to take, of course, I dove in head first, learned, studied for months, learned all I could leading up to, I guess that would have been in the late fall. So I had a few months to study and to learn and to prepare for the upcoming season, and that's what I did. And I've loved it ever since. My background in sales and marketing was definitely a bonus, in the fact that I love nature, love getting my hands dirty, just made it even better. So since then, I've become very passionate about growing food and feeding people, and trying to make as big an impact in that arena as possible. So along with that came our YouTube channel, because I have to give credit where credit is due, and a lot of the knowledge that I learned, or at least the roadmap that pointed me in the right direction for resources, came from YouTube. It is an amazing platform that if you know how to look, you can learn just about anything on there, or at least be introduced to it. Find the experts. Success leaves clues. Learn from them. Do what they did. So that was kind of the formula that I took and pushed forward with. Now it's definitely taken a couple different twists and turns, trying to figure out exactly how I want my farm to run and where we can have the greatest impact. So utilizing the platform like YouTube has been a tremendous opportunity in more ways than one. So we are building a channel over there ourselves. I think we just crossed 200 subscribers. Woohoo! We are getting there. We are on our sprint to 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't yet, be sure to go over there and check us out. It's simply and easy at Simplistic Farms on YouTube. And and as I mentioned in the first episode of the podcast, this show is really an extension from that channel, and born out of it. So I'm almost as passionate about YouTube and getting our message across and providing value through creating content and hitting record as I am growing food. Yeah! All right, y'all. You know what that sound means. It is time for the Farm and Garden Word of the Week. Now, this is a multiple choice game, and the word of the week is biodiversity. So, which one of these is an example of biodiversity in the garden? A. A new government program to address racial tension among plants. B. A college course around different biohazards. C. the name of a rock group, or D, an interplanting of peppers, lettuce, and celery to increase diversity and photosynthesis. If you guessed D, you would be correct. Although it would make a kick-ass name of a rock group. But anyways, guys, I cannot thank you enough for joining me here today. Hopefully you've learned something or have at least been entertained, because it is truly our goal to provide value every single time we hit record, whether it be here on the podcast or over on our YouTube channel. And if you are enjoying the podcast, please do me a huge favor. Go on over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast app, and go over and rate our show, Growing Food and Feeding People podcast. We genuinely appreciate it from the bottom of our heart, because that is definitely one of the best ways to help us reach more people. Not to mention, share it with 3 of your friends. So if you'd like to continue the conversation, you can head over to Facebook and find us at Simplistic Farms LLC, and we would love to chat with you there. Or you can check us out on YouTube at Simple Ain't Easy, Simplistic Farms. We'd love to hear from you over there. So you're definitely not going to want to miss next week, because we are going to dive deep on the journey ahead for this farm, for the podcast, for the YouTube channel. We hope you'll join us. So have a great week, make somebody smile, and we'll talk to you then.